Hello and welcome to Hank Games Without Hank. It's me, your host, John Green. We're the Swindon Town Swoodly Poopers. It's raining in England, but because it is below freezing, it's coming down as snow. And we are here today in Cardiff City, another of the big powers in the championship this season. And we are playing them right after our draw against Wigan Athletic. So hopefully we'll do okay. We've got Ball John Green and other John Green starting up front, teammates in life and in love. And we've got lots of the stars. Leroy Williamson, who scores occasionally, is on the ball right now. I want to talk today about Greece. You guys have asked me to talk about Greece in a Hank Games video, and so I'm going to. But the first thing I want to say is that Greece is in a terrible position, and there are no good solutions here. And I just want to make that clear. Like, it's not like I think that there are easy or good or pleasant solutions. Greece, for those of you who don't know, is in very, very serious debt. Its debt is its debt to GDP ratio is well over 100, and at this point, it's become obvious that one way or another, there's going to be a controlled default. Greece is going to have a controlled default on its debt, or it's going to have an uncontrolled default on its debt. And for those of you who don't know, a default is the same thing as, say you have a mortgage and your mortgage is $200,000 and you decide you can't pay your mortgage, then you've defaulted on that debt. That's a very bad thing for countries to do because it means that for a long time after that, your debt will be very expensive. And debt is just a big part of how not just countries, but all of us function. Or at least I won't say all of us, because in the Islamic world there is a different banking system that kind of relies on shared risk, that functions in a very, like, functionally, like from a finance perspective is similar, but basically the old saw that it takes money to make money is somewhat true, or at least that's my opinion, and the opinion of most economists. So when Greece defaults on its debt, it's really bad because it means that Greek debt is going to be expensive for a long time. And one way that Greece can kind of mitigate the problem of this, by the way, that's Bald John Green and his beautiful mustache, is to and this is probably what they're going to do, is to continue to be a part of the Eurozone, because then they share a currency with a lot of countries that have fairly respectable currency, fairly respectable financial systems, like Germany and the Netherlands and places like that, and even like very small economies, Estonia, etc. And but that that have done a good job of servicing their debt. So Germany has been very, very reliably servicing its debt since World War II. Wasn't so good about it before that. Ball John Green breakaway. Ball John Green fails to finish. Should have passed. Should have passed to his husband. So often the case in life and in love. So Greece is now facing a referendum where the Greek people will have to decide if they wanted to have these so-called austerity measures, which basically means higher taxes and less government spending. One of the things that happens when you get into a debt crisis is that you have to do the exact opposite of what. Oh, look at that other John Green with a goal out of nothing! I love it. Slide on that snow. I hope you don't hurt yourself. It can be very dangerous. It's like sledding without a sled, but I love it. Look at that. He's such a finisher. In the net. Beats the keeper at the near post. That's beautiful stuff. So, I completely lost my train of thought because that was such an awesome goal, and I'm so proud of my boys. So Greece can. So you get into this cycle where you have less money as a country to spend, and it costs you more money to borrow money, and you're spending more than you need to, or you're spending more than you're bringing in taxes, because you're bringing in less and less in taxes because your economy is shrinking, and you're trying to spend because public sector spending is a way of growing the economy. Breakaway. Oh, why do you have to be fancy? You can't beat Fat Lucas. It's just not possible. Look at him. He's so big. Um, so it turns into a anyway, it turns into a big disaster, which Greece is experiencing already, but is only going, oh, that's got to be a foul. He pulled me down from behind. It's not a foul. Greece is experiencing this already, but it's only going to get much worse if they aren't part of the euro because they won't be able to share a currency with countries that are really good at paying back their debt. So, but it's a crappy choice, right? Because you either have to choose these very unpleasant austerity measures where a lot of people are going to lose their jobs and people are going to have to pay higher taxes, which is a difficult thing to get behind, or you're going to choose an uncontrolled default on your debt without the support of your European neighbors, and that could and probably would be even worse in the long run because you won't have any way of getting any money to pay your public sector employees, and who knows how you're going to pay taxes and things like that. So it's it's unpleasant either way, but one way is at least according to most economists, less unpleasant than the other. The interesting thing is that people in Greece are pretty fed up, right? They're pretty fed up with the banks. They're pretty fed up with their government. From their perspective, they're seeing nothing positive coming out of, they're seeing very little that's positive coming out of all of this. And they've already taken austerity measures. Their economy has already been suffering really for years, and they're being asked to take really fairly extreme austerity measures in order to stay part of a currency that as far as they're concerned, has been nothing but trouble from the beginning. And so it's very possible that the Greek people will vote against that, against this austerity measure, these austerity measures that would allow them to stay a member of the eurozone. If that were to happen, it would almost definitely lead to a big run on Greek banks, which would be very, very scary well, I mean, even for Americans and for people living around the world, because the moment there's a big run on Greek banks, potentially at least, things get very complicated for how the world economy is going to avoid. Oh, ball, John Green. What is that? He used to be such a finisher, and now, ever since his injury, I just feel like he's a different man. Oh, look at your husband. He set you up. Oh, why can't you finish? Oh, I almost want to take him out of the game because I'm disappointed in him. That was a great setup by his husband, and he just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. And the reason, I'll briefly go into why I think it would be so bad for there to be. The reason there'd be a run on Greek banks is because the currency exchange stuff would be very bad for Greece. Like if it suddenly had to not use the euro, or if there were suddenly even if they were still part of the eurozone, if there were some big, like massive uncontrolled default on their debt, because Greek banks hold a lot of Greek government debt, and it would be clear that Greek banks would pretty much immediately become insolvent. And in that instance, of course, you would want to get your money out of the Greek bank before it went insolvent, right? Like, you're thinking from your perspective, oh, Leroy Williamson, I was ready to sing your song. He couldn't finish. He scores occasionally, but not that often. Man, that's just a tough non-finish there for Leroy Williamson. And I like it. He's talking a little smack, though. He's saying scoreboard. So oh, that was one size fits all, and he was in great shape to score. Oh, one size fits all. What a great goal that would have been. We got to think of a song for one size fits all, by the way. So, Uh, so you'd want to get your money out, and then Greek banks would become insolvent, and then the scarier thing is that a bunch of other referee, a bunch of other European banks could become insolvent, and if that happened, one size fits all coming through in the back as he always does. If that were to happen, it could be very similar to when Lehman Brothers, for instance, collapsed, and all of a sudden there were you know there the whole financial system, because it's so interdependent, because all of these people are, because we're all always loaning money to each other, and pretty much loaning it with the universal assumption that it will be paid back, because for so long it has always been paid back. All of that confidence would collapse, and the credit crisis, or what we experienced as a credit crisis, would in 2008 would look like. I mean, credit could freeze up even more than it froze up in 2008, which is a terrifying thought, because off the post, because in 2008, it was brutal, and it resulted in millions of lost jobs, and um, lots. It changed. It's important to say that, like, these economic decisions, they and the way that finance works, it may seem foreign to you, it may seem distant from you, but it changes the way that real people's lives go for decades, and that's what we saw. That's what we saw in 2008. I mean, we're still crawling our way out of that huge hole, and yep, that's the end of the game, and we will be for at least another couple of years. So Cardiff City goes down to the Swindon Town Swoodly Poopers. They are forced to smell their armpits in shame. Meanwhile, the Swoodly Poopers congratulate each other on a snowy day. One size fits all, and Leroy Williamson saying, "Hey, hey, that was fun. That's always fun when we win. Thanks for watching. I'll see." No, I won't. I don't know the outro. Best wishes.